Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Bryndís, and today I'm talking about the books I read in November. In November and December, I am doing my own little Tolkien project. So I'm reading J.R.R. Tolkien, his Lord of the Rings fantasy and Middle Earth kind of a lot of things that happened. Sorry, thought someone was there. Everything that was happening in Middle Earth that he created, this fantastic world. So that's kind of my focus for November and December, and I'm just having the best time. So I did start to read the Silmarillion, but I have read it once, so it would have been all of these books are a reread for me, most of them at least. I really wanted to read the Silmarillion and kind of just like study it and really kind of learn or at least remember about all the world building that he does, like with like who are the elves and who is this one in Morgoth, and like how did Sauron become Sauron and all of these things. But it wasn't the right time for me to be studying a book like that, because just I'm very busy on other aspects of my life, so I really didn't want to carry that onto my reading as well. So I decided to put the Silmarillion aside, and I will reread it properly like that at a later point. But instead, I've just been focusing on, in November, I was just focusing on the kind of main works. So I read The Hobbit. Oh, and all of these books, the Tolkien books, I read as audiobooks. All of them were narrated by Andy Serkis, and it is just sublime perfection listening to his narration. So The Hobbit, if you don't know, then where are you from? An alien? But The Hobbit is the story of Bilbo Baggins, who is a hobbit. And hobbits are small people with furry feet and kind hearts, basically. And he goes on an adventure, kind of against his will. And he's definitely the reluctant hero. But I think I would actually love to do a separate video about The Hobbit and just talk about it in depth. Maybe, again, I will do that at a later point. But I actually think that The Hobbit is probably the best children's book ever. It is a children's book. So when you're middle grade, I would probably think, or I don't know, upper middle grade. I don't know exactly the categories, but it is definitely a children's book, and you can hear that and you can sense that throughout the book. But it is so well done. It is so good. And I love it because he is a hero, not because he is the strongest or he's like killing people, or, he's not Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or someone who like is using violence, or the Avengers or someone who are excellent superheroes. Don't get me wrong, I love them, but they're like, violence is kind of what they do, right? But Bilbo is not a violent creature. He's a kind-hearted hobbit, but he still conquers. He's still the conqueror. He's still the victor in the story. Kindness conquers over hatred and bigotry and violence. And I think in the type of times we live in, the message of this book is just so good. Yeah, I love this book. And I absolutely loved Andy Serkis' narration of it. I've also listened to it narrated by Derek Jacobi, I think. No, not Derek Jacobi. I'll put it on the screen. And that one is also very good. And I, in conjunction with reading this book, I watched the movies the trilogy. I have to say that I absolutely love the movies, but there are 3 of them for this little book, and it's definitely, maybe 2 would have been enough. It's definitely enough for two movies. 3 movies, I still enjoyed them very much, but they're definitely drawn out a little bit. But yeah, this book, I could talk about it all day. So, The Hobbit. So the next book, of course, was The Fellowship of the Ring, the first book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and again, narrated by Andy Serkis. Oh my God, it's so good. It is just pure joy. I really enjoyed, this is the 3rd time that I read the first book. I think the other books I've only read, it was the 2nd time. So it was my 3rd read, again, second time with Andy Serkis. And, he just makes it come alive so fantastically. I love the movie from this book, but I really love in the book how there's it goes more in depth, obviously, because in a movie you have to move things along more quickly in order to keep the drama and the kind of the attention of people who are watching. But in the book, you definitely go in depth. I mean, there are so many years between Bilbo's birthday and when actually Frodo leaves on his journey. Bilbo has been gone for a while, I think. But in the movie, it's Bilbo goes and then Frodo goes, almost, or it's a very short period at least. And but yeah, and there are just the little details before he's leaving. He sells all his things, and the cousins that Bilbo hates or really dislikes. He doesn't really hate anyone. He really dislikes, who had kind of taken all of his things when he went on his adventure because people thought he was dead, and they are now buying all the things from Frodo. And it's just the little details and also of when Merry and Pippin are joining the little journey of Sam and Frodo. It's really fun. It really brings more, you start to think, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it, but it becomes its own story, really. I really love that. I always love Tom Bombadil and their time when they're spending with him. The first, when they're first meeting Strider, I think that's excellent, really well done. And of course, Arendelle? No, is it Arendelle? You would think that being a huge fan, I would remember the names of places and people, but I forget everything. It's so annoying. But when they go to where the elves live, and it's just, I really love this book. And then I also read The Two Towers. So this was the 2nd time that I read The Two Towers, again with Andy Serkis. And this time around, I really, 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 really loved it. This has always been my least favorite book. And they're still, all of them are 5-star reads and all-time favorites. But of the 3, this has been, or even of the 4, this has kind of been in the last place. But I feel that this time around, it hit differently. The only thing that I can maybe criticize Tolkien, if that's even possible, is that it's basically 2 books. So the first part is, or 3 books even. First part is Pippin and Merry, and then Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli looking for them. And then it's and those storylines kind of combine or interconnected. But then you have just Frodo and Sam, part something, and then, basically a new book. And I feel that in more modern fantasy, or even in just literature in general, you will more go between. So you would have Pippin and Merry, and then you would have the Legolas and Gimli and Aragorn, and then you would have Sam, and then you would have, you would go between the storylines. But here it's just cut. That's kind of the only thing that, I think it might have built up more suspense. or something if he would have connected them more, or just kept them as two separate books, maybe. I don't know. Whatever, it's still fabulous and fantastic, and I absolutely loved it. I think I really, really enjoyed Merry and Pippin. I love them. They are just such fun characters, but also so lovable, and just you want to cuddle them, but at the same time they're not children, obviously. And now that I'm reading at the moment the Return of the King, their friendship is just it's driving me to tears. It's so good. I really enjoyed this, and also here I got this just lump in my throat for poor little Smeagol and the misery that creature has endured for so many years because of that ring, and how he just, when they first meet him, though, he just wants to die because he's like so miserable. Oh, it's heartbreaking and so well done. Yeah. Oh my God. It's been so much fun reading these books. And like I said, I'm now currently reading the Return of the King. And then when I finish that, I'm going to start to read the shorter stories or other stories that are kind of prequels basically to the Lord of the Rings. So I can't wait. So the fourth book that I read in November is an Agatha Christie book. It's called The Hollow. I don't own a copy of this one, although I own so many Agatha Christie's. And so this was interesting. I gave it 4 stars. It was kind of a mystery. People, someone was killed. Poirot kind of walks into. It's interesting. I think he comes to join them for drinks or dinner or something. And when he walks in, he walks into like a dead body by the pool or something. And he at first thinks it's been made like a joke or something, but it turns out no, that person was really dead. And yeah, it was a good mystery. I really enjoyed it, and as always, narrated by Hugh Fraser. Yeah, it was good. It was just Hercule Poirot at his best, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, so basically I read 6 books, which is very little for me, or at least on the lower side. I usually am around 10 books, but these were like such good books. I'm very excited about all of them. But then the next 2 are the physical copies that I read. And firstly, I read Salka Valka by Halldór Laxness, the Icelandic Nobel laureate that I'm doing the project for, and you can see it here. So this, no, oh my God, I'm confusing. I'm sorry. I did listen to this as an audiobook. Yeah, of course, I remember now. But I decided to go ahead and buy the copy because I want to own the physical copy of this book. Yeah, I remember now. I listened to it, and it was narrated by this Icelandic actress, and she did a fantastic job of it. So Salka Valka was actually a reread for me. I read it originally in high school when I was like 17, 18. And this is probably the book that definitely kind of, I wouldn't say radicalized me. I don't think I'm super radical in my political beliefs, but it definitely made me a social democrat. More left-wing for sure. It's basically a story of this young girl who moves to this tiny little village with her mother. It was written in 1931, so it takes place in the late 1920s, and it's kind of the beginning here in Iceland of the labor unions kind of existing, and this kind of the change from where the merchants and kind of the landowners basically ruled everything, and everybody else was just super poor and just barely able to survive. And then in the 20s and 30s here in Iceland, they really started to do like workers, like protect workers, so that people would have minimal wage and like sick days and coffee breaks and rights to get medical treatment and schools for the children and just clothes and just food, basically that you would be able to feed yourself and your family. And so it's very very interesting in that sense. And Salka Valka is the main character, fantastic character. And Halldór Laxness, I think, actually often writes really good, strong female characters. And there are parts in this book that are just heartbreaking, and then there are parts that makes you so furious. And there were parts in this book that I'm just like, this was written in like around 1930. Today is 2024, and we are still fighting for the same things. Fighting for social justice, fighting for people to be able to afford food on their table when they're working full time, and even if you're sick, that you're able to get medical treatment and not die because you're poor. Oh my God, it's like there's nothing changed in this world. And also I think because we have had elections here on the 30th of November, parliamentary elections, and a lot of the issues that we're talking about in this book are still issues that we are voting on almost 100 years later. It makes me so angry. But yeah, it's a good book. I would definitely recommend this book. I'm pretty sure that it's been translated into several languages. I think that it's very good, and it shows a very realistic picture of the life of the poor, the working poor, and the old sick poor in the villages around Iceland back in the day. And yeah, sad that we haven't progressed further than we actually have. It makes me, it's very sad and makes me angry. So the 6th book that I finished was, ta-da! I finally finished it. It's taken me 2 months to read this book. And I want to say that it's not because this is a bad book. I actually thought it was really a good book, well written, I suppose, and interesting characters, suspenseful, fun plot. I just wasn't in the mood to be reading a physical book. This is the only reason why it took me so long. So it's basically Wax and Wayne. And oh my God, I never remember her name. The woman who is with them. What is it? Marasi. They are basically, this is a very interesting, it's actually super interesting. So this is a fantasy. It takes place in this fantasy world. There's a magic system with some metals that they use to do stuff, and there's other type of magic, and there's like this religion, and it's very also interesting how it's like they have like horse and carriage, and the women have to wear dresses and blah blah, but they're also starting to have like motor cars and electricity and stuff like that. So it's interesting how he's taking these things into the world that he's built on a more of a old-fashioned type of social system. And I think that's really cool, actually. And I also like how there is like, they are starting to kind of fight the old gender, like the women are becoming police officers and lawyers and whatever. So I think that he's doing some interesting things in that regard. And also it's a thriller. It's a serial killer thriller with 3 detectives hunting an insane serial killer who's, religious fanatic serial killer or anti-religious, I don't know. That's very interesting how they he's combining the elements of a thriller with fantasy. And I think it's really well done. I don't think that it was necessarily what I was expecting when I started reading the second part of the Mistborn series. It's definitely very different from the first part, but it's not bad. I gave it 4 stars because, as I said, I enjoyed it. And especially as I got into the book, I would say the last 100 pages were more gripping to me than maybe the first 200 something. It's almost 400 pages, I think. 376 pages, yeah. And I do look forward to reading that. I have two more in and then the extra novella. Yeah, so I have 3 more books in the Mistborn series. I'm not gonna finish it before the end of the year, I'm pretty sure. So that's fine. But yeah, it's a good book. It's interesting and fun characters, crazy plot twist there, and some interesting things happening for sure. So those are the books I read in November. 6 of them. Like I said, not that many, but I had a lot of fun, and it was just a good reading month and such a great audiobook month. I like the quality of the narrators that I was listening to, all of them, and it was just so good. I'm not, as you may have noticed, not doing a December TBR because I'm just going to continue on with the Tolkien project. I think I said that in my November TBR, December TBR pile of possibilities. And then I'm just going to probably read some Agatha Christie. I'm thinking about reading some, like maybe like Dickens or like some old like classics to stay in the Christmas spirit. And then of course my thrillers for Christmas when I start reading the books I will be getting for Christmas, which are usually just thrillers, because that's most of them are thrillers because that's my jam for Christmas. Anyway, I hope you had a good reading month in November, and I hope you are enjoying December. If you're celebrating Christmas, I really hope you are enjoying it. I've gone insane with all my decorations are up now in early December, and my Christmas tree is up, which I normally don't put up until a few days before Christmas, and I'm just ready for the Christmas spirit. I love Christmas. I cannot wait to go home to my hometown, to my parents for Christmas. Oh, it's gonna be so lovely. I can't wait. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you've read any of these books, if you have any thoughts or comments, leave them down below and we can have a chat. Otherwise, I hope you're having a happy Advent, a happy December, wherever you are, and cheerio. Bye.